Hello, boys and girls. I hope you are ready for another adventure of Grandfather Frog. Today we're going to read Chapter 4, Patience of Longlegs. Got a nice picture of Longlegs here. The Patience of Longlegs the Blue Heron. Patience often wins the day when overhaste has lost the way. If there is one virtue which Longlegs the Heron possesses above any other, it is patience. Yes, Longlegs certainly has got patience. He believes that if a thing is worth having, it is worth waiting for, and that if he waits long enough, he is sure to get it. Perhaps that is because he has been a fisherman all his life, and his father and his grandfather were fishermen. You know, a fisherman without patience rarely catches anything. Of course, Billy Mink and Little Joe Otter laugh at this and say it isn't so, but the truth is they sometimes go hungry, when if they'd have had a little bit more patience. Now Grandfather Frog is another who is very, very patient. He can sit still for the longest time, waiting for something to come to him. Indeed, he can sit perfectly still so long, and Longlegs can stand perfectly still so long, that Jerry the Muskrat and Billy the Mink and Little Joe Otter have had many long disputes as to which of the two can keep still the longest. "He will make a splendid breakfast," thought Longlegs, as very, very carefully he walked along the edge of the Smiling Pool so as to get right opposite Grandfather Frog. There he stopped and looked very hard at Grandfather Frog. Yes, he certainly must be asleep, for his eyes were closed. Longlegs chuckled to himself without making a sound, and got ready to wade out so as to get within reach. Now all the time Grandfather Frog was doing some quiet chuckling himself. You see, he wasn't asleep at all. He was just pretending to be asleep, and all the time he was watching Longlegs out of the corner of one of his big goggly eyes. Very, very slowly and carefully, so as not to make the teeniest, weeniest sound, Longlegs lifted one foot to wade out into the Smiling Pool. Grandfather Frog pretended to yawn and opened his big goggly eyes. Longlegs stood on one foot without moving so much as a feather. Grandfather Frog yawned again, nodded as if he were too sleepy to keep awake, and half closed his eyes. Longlegs waited and waited, and then little by little, so slowly that if you'd been there you'd hardly have seen him move, he drew his long neck down until his head rested on his shoulders. "I must wait until he falls sound asleep again," said Longlegs to himself. But Grandfather Frog didn't go to sleep. He would nod, and then just as Longlegs was make up his mind that he was really asleep, open would Grandfather Frog's eyes. So all the morning long Longlegs stood on one foot without moving, watching and waiting, and growing hungrier and hungrier, and all the long morning Grandfather Frog sat on his big green lily pad, pretending that he was oh so sleepy, but all the time having such a comfortable sun-bath and rest, for very early he had had a good breakfast of green foolish flies. Over the bulrushes on the other side of the Smiling Pool, two little scamps in brown bathing suits waited and watched for the great fright they had planned for Grandfather Frog when they had sent Longlegs to catch him. They were Billy Mink and Little Joe Otter. At first they laughed to themselves and nudged each other at the thought of the trick they had played. Then, as nothing happened, they began to grow tired and uneasy. You see, they do not possess patience. Finally, they gave up in disgust and stole away to find some more exciting sport. Grandfather Frog saw them go and chuckled even harder to himself. Well, another chapter done. Hope you enjoyed. Good night and take care.